Okay, you guys have seen my list for the top 10 best and worst movies of 2024. That means 2024 is pretty much done. I will actually be seeing The Brutalist later this weekend, finally. So that's one little bonus 2024 movie review you'll get. But aside from that, 2024 is in the past, and now we look ahead to 2025. And I will kick that off by giving you guys my list for the top 10 most anticipated movies of 2025. Now again, I have a couple rules going for this list as I do with any of my other lists that I make. Rule number one, these are not the only movies that I'm highly anticipating. I mean, there are quite a few movies I'm really looking forward to. I typically will try to pick the 10 that I am most interested in and or I am the most confident in. This is also not a prediction of what are going to be my top 10 favorite movies of 2025. I mean, I will say if history, repeats itself, I will say at least probably half of these movies will probably make that list because, from my own history, that's typically what happens. At least 5 of the anticipated will make the best list. But who knows, maybe this is the year all these movies suck and it's a bunch of hidden gems, which frankly would kind of be exciting. I mean, it's always fun when there's that movie that comes out of nowhere or you hear some whispers about and you feel like I need to check that out. It ends up being fantastic. Wouldn't be opposed to that at all. I love finding the hidden gems of every year. Also, I'll say this much, these are movies that are all slated currently to be coming out in the year 2025. But ever since that magical year of 2020, I have learned that release dates are not set in stone. I mean, there's a real chance at least a couple of these movies will probably get delayed into 2026 or even onward. I am simply going off what the world and the internet has stated for these movies so far, and as of today, right now that I'm making this video, all 10 of these movies are slated to come out in 2025. Will all of them still? Probably not, but I guess that's for us to find out as the year goes on. All right, enough jibber jabber. Let's get into my list of anticipation. Number 10 on an anticipation list is always the hardest slot to fill because you gotta go through movies that could make the cut, but other movies that you're maybe not quite as excited for as others. But for me, my number 10 slot is a movie that I had no idea was getting released in 2025 until I just heard about it on the internet, and that's Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. It gives me a lot of Nosferatu vibes when I heard that Robert Eggers was gonna direct that movie for the longest time, where you think of a director and you think of a concept or an idea and you're just like, that just sounds like a perfect marriage. I have a really hard time imagining a scenario where Guillermo del Toro and a Frankenstein movie just doesn't work together. Like, Guillermo del Toro's always been really good with creature design and bringing us into a new world and giving us really good characters, memorable characters. It just seems like the type of movie that's meant for him to make. I really like the cast of this movie too. You got Oscar Isaac as Dr. Frankenstein. You have Jacob Elordi as Frankenstein's monster. I believe Andrew Garfield was set to play that role for a long time. Didn't work out. Now they casted this kid. Have I seen him in anything? No, it doesn't appear so, but excited to see what he brings to the role. You also got Christoph Waltz and Mia Goth. It's a pretty good cast for a sci-fi horror kind of movie. Nosferatu really brought gothic horror back to its roots. Let's hope Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein can keep it there. You guys know I love biopics. I love biopics about famous musicians, and this year we've got a biopic surrounding maybe the most famous music artist of all time. That's Michael. Antoine Fuqua, the director of Training Day, is directing this project. I think that's a great fit here. But Jasper Jackson playing his father in a Michael Jackson movie, that's what I'm most interested in. I really don't think I've seen him in anything, but I'm really interested in seeing him take on the role of his father. I mean, I know he's gonna have the look down, but can he have, the appearance, the behavior, the performance aspect that his father had? That's what I'm gonna be really interested to see. I mean, Michael Jackson is maybe still to this day the most iconic music figure of all time. It's honestly shocking we haven't gotten a biopic for him yet. We've gotten a lot of music biopics over the years, especially in recent years, and I have, at minimum, I feel enjoyed most of them. There's a lot riding on a biopic for Michael Jackson to be really good, so I'm very much looking forward to seeing what they do here. At number 8, we have Karate Kid Legends. Okay, it's like this. The original Karate Kid is one of my all-time favorite movies. It's a great underdog story. I love the dynamic between Daniel and Mr. Miyagi. I also grew up doing martial arts, so a movie like The Karate Kid just hits home a little bit more different for me. We've got a lot of Karate Kid movies over the years, and they've all had a little bit of hit and miss to them. The Cobra Kai show, though, is fantastic. And really, ever since that show has been brought to us, it has really reawakened my love for this franchise, and I'm excited to see what happens here. I mean, you're taking essentially the two biggest names from the two different pieces of the Karate Kid franchise. You're taking Daniel LaRusso from the original Karate Kid series, and you're taking Mr. Han from the remake that they made with Jaden Smith. Putting them both in a movie together, and it looks like they're gonna tutor and train this one new student in the arts of karate and kung fu. I think that's awesome. This kid actor, I don't believe I've seen him in anything. To my knowledge, I might be wrong on this, but I believe it's his acting debut. I'm excited for that. Put this kid in here, get him really trained on martial arts. You know Jackie Chan's gonna fucking work this kid. And it could be what ultimately launches him into his own career of stardom. I'm excited to see that. I thought the trailer for this movie was surprisingly really good. Showed us enough to get excited for it, but it didn't reveal much, if any, of the plot. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing what the next step in the Karate Kid franchise is from here. Next at number 7, we have The Running Man. I never read the Running Man book. Granted, I don't really read books anyway, and even if I did, I feel like Stephen King would just freak me out with most of his genre. I know that the plot of this story is apparently there are these contestants that go on this game show where they gotta survive being hunted by hitmen or something like that. They made an original film adaptation with this with Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the day, but what has me won over with this one is Edgar Wright is directing this movie. And for me, Edgar Wright is on a very small list of directors where I'm like, I don't need to know anything about your movie. I don't need to know what genre it is. I don't need to know who's starring in it. If you're directing it, I am there. And Edgar Wright is one of those directors. But even to add to it, you got Glenn Powell starring in this movie, which is great for him. I mean, this guy's career just went wham since Top Gun Maverick. Sounds like it has an interesting premise, but yeah, Edgar Wright's directing it. That's all I need. Let's move on. Okay, number 6 is admittedly a franchise that I am not very affiliated with. Actually, I'm not affiliated with at all. But at number 6, 28 years later. Okay, I'm gonna be completely transparent with you guys. I have never seen 28 Days Later or 28 Weeks Later. I'm telling you right now, they have been on my list of movies to check out for a very, very long time, and I will see them before I see this movie, I swear. So how can I have the third movie on my list of anticipation when I haven't seen either of the other two? Simple. I thought the trailer for this movie was fucking sweet. Because that is what movie trailers should be and never are. It completely sucks you into what the world is without really giving you too much of the world. And this zombie apocalyptic world that's in here looks really interesting. It looks intense. It looks creepy. It looks like characters are in really dire situations with what the world has become. And part of the fun is because I haven't experienced any of the other 28 Days Later movies, I have no idea what this movie's going to be about. I'm excited for that. I don't know what to expect with certain characters. I don't know what to expect with the storyline. I have no idea. I saw the trailer. I thought the trailer was unbelievable. So yeah, can't wait to see what they do here. Next up, we got F1, a Formula One race car movie starring Brad Pitt, directed by Joseph Kosinski, who is the director of Top Gun Maverick. There, I think that should be enough to get anyone interested in this movie. I went on the record to say Top Gun Maverick is one of the best movies I've ever seen. I still stand by that belief. Joseph Kosinski did a phenomenal job directing that movie. I'm very excited to see what he and Brad Pitt are going to do in a movie together. Again, I thought this was another trailer that really hit it out of the park. I mean, having We Will Rock You in the background of the racing going on, textbook. Again, I don't know a whole lot about the plot, but from what I've already seen in the trailer, it does have a Top Gun Maverick vibe to it. I mean, what was great about Top Gun Maverick is you felt like Joseph Kosinski really put you in the cockpit of those jets. You felt like you were there. You felt like you were flying with these pilots. It feels like he's going to do the exact same thing with Formula One race cars. And that just sounds awesome. I'm sure we'll have some racing that's going to be really intense, really epic. It's going to have you right there in the driver's seat, literally just feeling like you're on the edge of it all. Yeah, this guy really won me over with Top Gun Maverick. I can't wait to see what he does with this movie. Okay, so we got a few MCU movies coming out this year, but the one that I am most excited for, the one that I am most rooting for, is the Fantastic Four First Steps. Brave New World and Thunderbolts could both suck, but if this movie is a hit, I will consider that a victory for the MCU this year. I mean, I grew up with the original Fantastic Four movies. I mean, admittedly, I grew up and I look back and those movies, you know, they're clearly not as good, but I don't know, some part of me is just gonna always appreciate them for their nostalgia. But you know, this is Marvel's first family right here, and I've been wanting to see them come back in a project for a long time. You know, I just ignored the Fat Four stick we got in 2015 because, well, we all do. But I'm glad that they're finally making their entrance into the MCU. I do really like the cast for the most part that we've got for the Fantastic Four themselves. I still admittedly don't love the idea of Julia Garner playing the Silver Surfer, but we'll see how that goes. Also, with the news now that Robert Downey Jr. is going to play Doctor Doom in the MCU, I'm interested to see if he has any kind of role whatsoever in this movie. It'll probably just be a post-credit scene, but regardless, that's something to look forward to. But yeah, if any group of heroes deserves a great movie for themselves, it's the Fantastic Four. I'm really hoping the MCU can deliver that. They just proved with Deadpool and Wolverine that they can still bring it. They've still got it when they want to commit to a project that fans really want. And we all know fans are hammering home for this project to succeed. Yeah, number 3 has to be Avatar: Fire and Ash. There's no way in hell I could not look forward to this movie. You want to talk superstar directors, guys that I'm going to have on my list no matter what? Yeah, James Cameron is absolutely one of them. And look, people will say his Avatar movies are overrated, or that he's wildly preaching like his, act of protecting the environment or whatever. But guess what? These Avatar movies are what I hope for the most whenever I go into a movie. And that is an escape. Whenever you watch these movies, you get sucked right back into the world of Pandora, and you are there until the movie is over. The Way of Water further expanded on the world of Pandora. We explored more Na'vi, more culture, more wildlife, more everything. And from my understanding, Avatar: Fire and Ash is going to be doing the same thing. Apparently this one we're gonna explore on a volcanic group of Na'vi, so that's interesting. We're getting essentially different Na'vi cultures from all 4 elements. I think that's fucking cool. But what I've also heard is this new group of fire Na'vi, if you want to call them that, they're going to be the antagonists of this movie, and they're going to be human characters that are going to be the heroes. I think that could be really good. Because this whole time it's been, Na'vi good, people bad, and that's who you root for and against in the movie. In this case, it's not going to be so black and white now. There'll be some Na'vi who are evil, there'll be some people who are good, and that will make things feel a little more real. It's like just because one side might be the enemy doesn't mean all of the side is the enemy, or all of the side is a hero for that matter. I've loved the first 2 Avatars. I'm hoping I walk out loving this one too. Here at number 2, we have Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Originally titled Dead Reckoning Part 2, but I guess they renamed it to The Final Reckoning because it sounded more conclusive. This is supposed to be, on paper, the official send-off for Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt in this Mission Impossible franchise. That, of course, however, will depend on the success of this movie. If this movie makes a shit $1 tillion, then I'm sure they will find a way to bring Tom Cruise and Ethan Hunt back. Granted, Tom Cruise says he wants to do this franchise till he's fucking 90, but, granted, we'll see. People have said that the Mission Impossible franchise is the best action movie franchise of all time, and for me, Ghost Protocol onward, I would agree with that. And since that movie, I have absolutely loved every Mission Impossible movie that has been made. I love Dead Reckoning Part 1. I love the characters that were introduced. I love seeing where our fan favorites are at. I loved the direction the story was going. And the stunt work in this movie that Tom Cruise puts himself through, it's absolutely ridiculous what this guy is doing for himself, especially at his age. It's nuts. I can't wait to see the story wrap up. I can't wait to potentially see if and how Ethan Hunt's story is going to wrap up. Going to be some phenomenal action. It's going to be phenomenal stunt work. I am all for it. And I really hope that if this truly is the send-off for this franchise, they do it right and they give this franchise what it deserves, which is a phenomenal ending. And here we are. My number 1 most anticipated movie of 2025 is probably just about everybody's most anticipated movie of 2025, which is, you guessed it, Superman. I cannot think of a human being on planet Earth that is not highly looking forward to Superman. Whether you have all the confidence in the world in it, or you're very skeptical towards it, everyone's looking forward to this movie. James Gunn has become the new Kevin Feige, essentially, to this new DC universe. He is writing and directing this movie. That gives me a lot of faith. He has a great track record with comic book movies, and he also knows that with this movie being what is essentially supposed to launch his new DC franchise, he knows there's a lot riding on this one. He knows if this movie sucks or it bombs, the franchise is already dead. And for me personally, and this is just my opinion, I understand it's probably going to upset some people, I don't feel like we've ever gotten an all-time great Superman movie. Look, I know there are people out there who love the 1978 Christopher Reeve Superman. I know there are people out there who love Man of Steel. And if you love those movies, cool, good for you. I do believe there are elements of those movies to love and to enjoy, absolutely. But for me, I don't think they belong in the all-time great list of comic book movies. And that for me is a disappointment. Like, Superman should have a universally recognized all-time great superhero movie. I mean, think of the holy trinity of superheroes. Like, even those who aren't a fan of superheroes, from the moment you are born, you know the biggest 3 superheroes of all time. And that's Batman, Superman, and Spider-Man. Batman and Spider-Man have gotten a few all-time great comic book movies. Superman deserves one too, and I'm hoping this one can be that. We have David Cornsweet playing the role of Kal-El, Clark Kent, Superman. I can't think of anything I've seen this guy in, but I fucking love that. I really love the idea that we have this relatively lesser known actor taking on such an iconic role, such an important role, such a big time character. And if he comes in and he crushes it as Superman, he's gonna get so much work for himself. He will become the face of this franchise, essentially. I think about that. I mean, Iron Man kicked off the MCU to be what it was. Robert Downey Jr. essentially became the face of the MCU for the longest time, maybe even still is. And now this guy could do the same for himself with this DC universe. I thought the trailer looked really, really good. I thought it showed a ton of promise, a ton of potential. We've got a few other superheroes in here. I do have maybe some questions on if they're going to be able to tackle having all these different superheroes in a Superman movie while still making Superman the main focus. I am very excited for Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, though. I mean, that guy had a great year for himself last year. I'm excited to see how he does as Lex. In the end, I love superheroes, I love comic book movies, and I am hoping that Superman gets the kind of movie that he deserves. I really hope I walk out of this movie and I'm like, yeah, Superman 2025, put that on a Mount Rushmore of great superhero movies. If I walk out feeling that, I hope I do, that's a massive win right there. So there it is. That is my list for the top 10 most anticipated movies of 2025. Now I leave it over to all of you. Don't forget to leave a comment. Let me know what your most anticipated movies of the year are. How many are you going to see? Do you plan on going to the movies a lot? Do you only have a few that you're really amped for? And yeah, here we go. We're on to a new year. I'm excited to do this again with you guys. Let's have some fun. Let's make 2025 a year to remember. But for now, that's all I gotta say. Guys, thank you so much once again for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for enjoying me. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you all next time.